Good morning. I'm Carol McNamara, and I'm the director of the Great Hearts Institute for Classical Education. And I'm here this morning with Corinne Jacobson, who is the Senior Director of Professional Development for Great Hearts America. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me a little this morning. We're here at the National Symposium for Classical Education, and I wanted to have a conversation with Corinne about why coming to the National Symposium might be a great way to sort of jumpstart your professional development if you're a small classical school out there in the world and looking for opportunities to develop your opportunities for your teachers to develop their skills, both intellectual and practical, in terms of pedagogy and curriculum development.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have a lot of schools here that are newer to the classical education landscape, or maybe they're totally bought in, but they're just not quite sure how to implement it. And so this is a great launching place for them to hear about the philosophical principles of classical education and the why behind why we do works and why people love it so much. But then there's also sessions that are super practical. Everything from content-specific sessions about the best pedagogical methods for Latin or Greek, all the way to just why this movement is so important. So it's a great place for them to bring a team, kind of spread out and just get as much as they can, and then take that back to their campus. And it's also a great place for people who are already immersed in the classical world. So it's not just for those who are launching into it and wanting to learn more about it. It's also a place where even if you've been in the classical educational landscape for years, you do walk away with so much. Your cup is so filled when you leave here, and you meet so many great colleagues, and there's always a session happening for everyone. So it's great.
That's great. So you just mentioned sort of two things, really, or two opportunities. One is for the brand new school, people who are new to classical education, and those who are returning. Let's start with the people who are new to classical education. You and I sit down in the spring and we devise a whole set of workshops. Can you talk more specifically about the workshop tracks and how we devise it? So we have K5, 612, K12, leadership tracks. Talk a little bit about how we think about those tracks, how we devise these workshops, what the character of the workshops is, so that they're both excellent and in terms of intellectual renewal, but hands-on useful for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the workshops are designed to have the participants walk away with something, but it's really important that the workshops are rooted in the philosophical as well. It's actually a little bit jarring if you go to a keynote speaker who's, got you on this high of classical ed, and then you go to a workshop and it's like, forget about that, let's just dig into this practical thing. So we try really hard to make our workshops both philosophical and practical. For all of them, for the K5, for the 612 focus, and for the K12 focus, we really look at some content areas. This year's theme being Cultivating Wonder, we looked at what content areas would really drive a good conversation around that. So as you know, we talked a lot about science and languages and literature and how these things can bring out that wonder in our students and even within ourselves, right? So this is an opportunity to feed our teachers and feed our leaders so that they can go out and do that for their students. So we're thinking about that with each workshop. So there's a content aspect that we consider. There's also a curricular aspect. So we might say, hey, we know this person who can just delve into Narnia. Let's have her speak, right? And let's let her bring light into this in a new way so that these folks who attend, maybe they have a new fire lit under them on that topic. The leadership track is really geared toward up and coming rising school leaders. It may be for teacher leaders who are coaching other teachers as well. So we try to offer some things on instructional coaching. We've offered things on leading through change, leading with influence, just some of these tough topics that oftentimes you go out into, you go to your Barnes and Noble or you go on Amazon and you look up a book on this topic because you want to learn more about it. And you get it, and it's just a whole lot of business speak, and it's not rooted in anything classical. And so what I love about our leadership track is there's that connection to the classical ethos, the humility, and all the things that we want to see in our students. And so we try to bring that into the leadership track as well, which I think is really unique about this conference and about that track specifically. One other thing we tried to consider, I mean, you know this, we like to have Great Hearts teachers and leaders participate and lead a lot of the sessions, but we also like to bring in a lot of folks from the outside. So this is the Great Hearts Institute, but it's not just insular Great Hearts people only. There's a lot of goodness happening out in the world, and we want to build those bridges with all those different institutions.
That's a great point to emphasize. I was talking about that this morning as well, which is that this is the Great Hearts National Symposium for Classical Education is the big tent conference. It's the big tent gathering for classical educators from every corner of the classical world. And for those educators who are just interested in classical or interested in big ideas and important, what's important to creating an excellent education for your students. So let's pivot just for a minute and talk about why this is a great place to come for those who are sort of seasoned classical educators, but they need something of a renewal every year of their spirit to sort of continue on in the hard and rewarding work of classical education.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Big Ten conference. I was speaking to someone yesterday as well about, I said, this is the premier conference. This is the only place you're going to get this. So I had the same talk yesterday with someone else.
I didn't pay you to do that either.
You didn't pay me to do that. Maybe you should. Okay, so for those that are already immersed in classical education, I think, I don't know that this is specific to classical education or just educators in general. I think those who are drawn to be educators, we give a lot of ourselves, and we care so much about our work. I always felt as a teacher that lesson plan was not ink on paper. It was my blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. And it was actually a part of an extension of my soul, and my being was walking into the classroom, which is why it's so hard to be criticized, right? When you're teaching, so like, that's me. And so we put our all into what we do as educators, and perhaps as classical educators, we do that even more because we do believe it's existential, and we do believe it has moral implications and implications beyond just the temporal, earthly life here. And so there is a bit more of an emphasis in what we give. And so it's important to fill our own cup and renew ourselves and recommit to what we're doing. Every time I come to this conference, every time I go to a new faculty orientation and hear people speak about why this education matters, why we care about these things, I leave so much more renewed and refreshed and ready to do this work, because this is hard work. We have a lot of things telling us this is not what we should be doing. We have a lot of cultural pressure. We have a lot of people who just don't understand why this work matters. And so you have to be fueled and almost ready for battle sometimes. And this is the place where that happens. It's great to be with like-minded individuals who value the same things that you do.
I agree. We all join together and we talk about the practical aspects of what we do in the classroom, our approach to reaching those young minds and cultivating wonder in them so that they understand the existential importance of their education. But but we have to cultivate that sense in ourselves as well if we can soldier on in the way that's necessary to be effective teachers at every level. So I'm so grateful that everybody can join us, and I'm grateful you took the time to talk to me about why everyone should attend symposium at schools, from schools far and wide. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think I'm